It's time for a Pikmin tier list. Let's go over every single and rank them based on the following: their combat ability, hazard coverage, and exploration ability. Red Pikmin are first up on the list. Sitting at a 1.5 times damage multiplier, these are a solid choice for combat. While fire is not super common in Pikmin 4, when it does show up you'll want to use Red Pikmin to deal with it. As for exploration, Red Pikmin are pretty standard apart from one new mechanic that they added. It's the fire pine cones. The fire objects allow you to ignite fire locations, which can warm up cold areas. Additionally, they also allow you to burn straw, and are useful against ice objects or ice enemies, as throwing this fire object towards them will make the ice melt immediately. Overall, Red Pikmin are a solid choice. They're just well-balanced type, so since they're helpful in all categories, I think top of B tier is a fair place to put them. From hot to cold, Ice Pikmin are up next on the list. From what I can tell, they are sitting at a 0.5 damage multiplier. They have a very powerful freeze ability. They can freeze just about every enemy, and it allows you to defeat bosses super easily because of how strong this mechanic is. Having 30 or more Ice Pikmin pretty much guarantees an instant freeze. The freeze meter will also fill up if an Ice Pikmin gets eaten, but it doesn't fill up that much. Additionally, if you freeze a flying enemy, they will fall to the ground and shatter. As for hazard coverage, there are the occasional ice locations where Pikmin get cold in. Ice Pikmin can also deal with ice cubes, freezing gates, as well as frost geysers. Ice Pikmin can also freeze pretty much every single body of water. Doing so allows Pikmin to walk across, but it also freezes the enemies inside. This makes dealing with enemies that are slightly submerged in water or have any portion of them out of water super simple, since you can freeze the water and then there's nothing they can do about it. For exploration, when an Ice Pikmin isn't freezing water, they will swim across the top. Ice Pikmin can also freeze objects like the Jello. Ice Pikmin are super solid in combat, have good use for hazards, very good exploration, and are pretty much always a great choice. I was wondering to put them in either S tier or the top of A tier. I think top of A tier is a better choice, and if any Pikmin is better than them, they instantly become S tier, leaving Ice Pikmin as the definition between making it to S tier or not. Yellow Pikmin are up next. They have the furthest and highest throw distance in the game, with standard damage and standard movement. Yellow Pikmin are a good choice for dealing with flying enemies. As for hazards, Yellow Pikmin will deal with electric gates and the shock sprinklers. Electricity will kill Pikmin, but it's not super dangerous. In my opinion, it is the most annoying hazard on the final boss fight, so some points can be given there to Yellow Pikmin. As for exploration, Yellow Pikmin can reach up high objects that no other Pikmin can. And they can also dig the fastest. Yellow Pikmin are fairly balanced. I think B tier is pretty fair for them. The Blue Pikmin. In my predictions tier list, I assumed they would be slightly invalidated due to having the most overlap with other Pikmin types. And this was partly correct. Blue Pikmin have standard movement and attack damage, with nothing special in land battles. As for water battles, Blue Pikmin are a solid choice. Ice Pikmin still outclass them in any small body of water, but in large areas, Blue Pikmin are the best choice. As for hazard coverage, with the addition of water spouts and sprinklers, Blue Pikmin have a more important role than they've ever had in a previous Pikmin game. Water hazards are by far the most common in Pikmin 4, giving Blue Pikmin a lot of points in the hazard coverage department. When it comes to exploration, Blue Pikmin are the only type that can carry objects through water and pick up objects completely submerged in water. Additionally, with the limit of 3 Pikmin types at any given time, Blue Pikmin were really able to shine in certain caves and on the map's serene shores. Blue Pikmin are also pretty much required to defeat specific bosses. This isn't really a positive though, more just Nintendo forcing you to use a Pikmin type. All things considered though, Blue Pikmin are not bad. Far from it. They're not a powerhouse in any way, but I believe they were done justice by the way they were balanced in the game. I think B tier is a solid choice. Rock Pikmin were the best fighters from Pikmin 3. And they return with their high impact damage and messy combat style, since they're unable to latch on. With the addition of Oatchi, Rock Pikmin can deal massive damage when Oatchi is rushing. Rock Pikmin are also the best choice when fighting a few enemies, since they have standard movement speed and a regular throw arc. But they're not the best choice for most combat situations. As for hazards, Rock Pikmin cannot get crushed when on a soft surface, though they can get crushed when on a hard surface. Rock Pikmin are also the only Pikmin that can deal with crystals. Now crystals aren't super common, but rock Pikmin are helpful when they are present. And surprisingly for exploration, I'd argue rock Pikmin went from being the dumbest to being the smartest Pikmin. In Pikmin 3, rock Pikmin would often break items out of crystals or drop pellets and not pick them up. This was never an issue in Pikmin 4. In fact, the issues I had for carrying items came from other Pikmin types. All the other Pikmin types appear to struggle when you send more than the required amount. So if something needed 10 Pikmin and you tried to send 20, this would often lead to Pikmin running behind the object, causing them to give up and never actually help carry the object. This was actually never an issue with rock Pikmin. This is likely because of their different hitboxes and physics, though it might have just also been a fluke. In my previous video, I mentioned if rock Pikmin were smarter, they would be an S tier. And they are smarter now. But when compared with ice Pikmin, and also with the other Pikmin coming up on the list, rock Pikmin are no longer the Battle King. Because of this, I actually think rock Pikmin getting an A tier is quite fair. The main man himself, the king of battle, the purple Pikmin. When it comes to combat, purple Pikmin are back with their 2x damage multiplier. Purple Pikmin are by far the best fighters in Pikmin 4. Given that combat is a large majority of Pikmin 4, and purple Pikmin deal with pretty much every boss easily, they struggle with specific bosses due to their throw arc, but can still be used with a little bit of persistency. Furthermore, the final cave being a boss rush makes purple Pikmin the best choice in pretty much every situation in this cave. This is the Pikmin you'll want to use when the game only recommends 2 Pikmin types, which happens a few times in maps like Serene Shores and a few caves. Purple Pikmin now have a short throw distance due to their Sumo Slam arc. This makes them fall pretty slowly, but if they haven't reached the peak of the arc, they work like normal. The Sumo Slam does a large AoE attack if it lands, but the biggest problem with this is that Pikmin 4 auto-locks onto the target 99% of the time, meaning that you'll never really get to use the Sumo Slam even when you want to use it. This Sumo Slam replaces the purple Pikmin stun, but if you do manage to get a purple Pikmin to land on top of an enemy, it will actually stun them. Additionally, purple Pikmin can weigh down flying enemies, meaning that you can throw a single one and bring down a flyer. The last thing that purple Pikmin do is weigh down enemies with a weight requirement, as they count for 10 Pikmin. This is super helpful, especially in the last boss fight, as you can just throw 2 purple Pikmin, opposed to having to throw 15. The only drawback is that you aren't really intended to get many of them early on. However, farming them is super simple. Getting 100 before leaving the Serene Shores is easy, and then you can just use that army for the rest of the game. As for hazard coverage, purple Pikmin don't have any. Due to their Sumo Slam and 2x damage though, they can deal with a fair amount of hazards very quickly. For exploration, purple Pikmin have the weight and strength of 10 Pikmin. This is very helpful for clearing a few obstacles and carrying back heavy treasures. The purple Pikmin are slower than the rest, so that is a drawback to using them. With all this said though, purple Pikmin dominate most of the combat in Pikmin 4, which again is a large majority of the game, and it's definitely the most difficult aspect of the game. They are also useful for exploration. Both of these combined makes purple Pikmin comfortably sit in the S tier. From the best fighter in the game to the worst fighter in the game, we have the winged Pikmin. Winged Pikmin are the worst at fighting any land enemy. Not only that, they're actually the worst at fighting any flying enemy, which was extremely surprising to me. White Pikmin, which deal the same amount of damage, actually dispatch of flying enemies more effectively than winged Pikmin do, even if you use the winged Pikmin charge or any other method. The only time you'd really use winged Pikmin is if you're afraid of Pikmin falling off the map. For hazards, winged Pikmin don't have any coverage, but they can fly over water and they can carry objects over any type of pit. For exploration, you get the winged Pikmin pretty early on, but you only get 10. Farming them isn't super easy like farming purples. It's also not really worth it. Before the Primordial Thicket, in the previous maps, they only get recommended in 2 caves. One of which they don't really help at all, and the other of which they actually do get to show off their flying ability and carry some objects back that no other Pikmin can. Now, thanks to the Primordial Thicket, winged Pikmin get to show off their efficiency in carrying objects back. Also, the 5th mission from the Trial of the Leaf Sage also showcases Wing Pikmin's abilities. Being the most efficient type in the game, but the worst fighters in the game, excludes them from the S tier. I was honestly thinking of placing them in low B tier since they aren't very useful for the majority of the game, especially if you 100% an area and then move on to the next one. But I know most people don't play that way. I think that putting them in low A tier is pretty fair. White Pikmin are up next. They are the quickest Pikmin, having standard throw distance and really low damage with a 0.5 damage multiplier. White Pikmin do a lot of poison damage if they're eaten, just like in the second game. For combat, they're probably the second worst type in the game, just barely ahead of Wing Pikmin. They really only shine against poison enemies, specifically against the one boss who is surrounded by poison and even revives dead enemies. That being said though, they take forever to defeat it. For hazard coverage, they can deal with poison. There are some poison hazards earlier on in other maps, but you can avoid it and still 100% complete them. That being said though, this is kind of counteracted by the fact that poison is the most common hazard in the last map. As for exploration, White Pikmin are again the quickest, allowing them to carry back items super fast. Digging up items that are completely buried is possible with any Pikmin. Due to White Pikmin being better than average in exploration and efficiency, but getting a large amount of them only happens late in the game, and farming them early on isn't really super easy or effective. Combined with being very weak, it honestly places them in low B tier, maybe even C tier. I'd like to place White Pikmin higher up. The 0.5 damage is just way too much of a hit, and they're honestly in the same boat with Wing Pikmin where they're just kind of used at the end of the game. Glow Pikmin are up next, and they are very unique. Sitting at what I believe is a 0.5 damage multiplier, Glow Pikmin are also pretty weak. However, this is easily negated with their super powerful attack, the Glow Mob. The Glow Mob allows these green Pikmin to literally attack any enemy and defeat them very easily. I honestly thought it was super strong, stronger than what it actually was. But after fighting the Smoky Prog with Glow Pikmin and then fighting it later on with Purples, I realized that the Glow Mob is solid, but it also doesn't deal a huge amount of damage. The Glow Mob is still very effective in dealing with every single enemy and enemy clusters. The only problem is Mr. Spider here, who they have a difficult time reaching. For hazard coverage, Glow Pikmin are immune to everything. This makes them able to deal with all enemy types at the night, and it also allows them to be a trump card when exploring caves. For exploration, Glow Pikmin are fast, very fast. And unlike any other Pikmin type, they will teleport to you once their task is done. They would easily be the most efficient type if it wasn't for the fact that you only have a limited amount of them, and they're very hard to farm because you need to finish a night mission to get them. The fact that Glow Pikmin are able to defeat all enemies in the night, are super useful in caves, immune to everything, and super efficient makes them S tier, since they are a one-man Pikmin show that can do literally anything. Last but not least, we have Oatchi. When you have an upgraded Oatchi, he is the unstoppable force and the immovable object. Oatchi is able to 1v1 or 1v many and win every single time. In night expeditions, you can just put him to guard a Luminol, and apart from a select few enemies, he'll solo defend it. In the daytime, you can also send Oatchi to take out pretty much any enemy, and he'll do so easily as well. Oatchi is not only a solo act though. When combined with Pikmin and his rush ability, that becomes the most overpowered thing in the game. And when you're riding Oatchi with Pikmin, you can throw them slightly higher than normal. Having Pikmin on Oatchi can allow you to deal with cold conditions, swim across water, and most importantly, it reduces the spread of your Pikmin group, which is invaluable in numerous combat situations like the final boss fight. For hazard coverage, again, Oatchi can deal with any hazard in the game. And for exploration, apart from carrying objects through water, going through these straw stacks, and dealing with the jello, Oatchi can go through anything. You actually need Oatchi to get to a lot of areas because Oatchi's the only thing that can jump. The only negative about Oatchi is that he isn't very efficient in building anything. This is because Oatchi effectively only counts as one Pikmin, and him going back and forth takes a very long time. Additionally, fighting with only Oatchi takes a long time. It's doable, but using a bunch of Pikmin is a lot quicker. With all that said though, Oatchi is easily top of S tier. the best captain or playable character this series has ever had. And he's essentially just a super strong Bulbmin with even more features. Speaking of Bulbmin, Bulbmin are unfortunately not in Pikmin 4, and Puffmin aren't in Pikmin 4 either. Puffmin have been instead replaced with dancing Pikmin that will just hop around doing nothing. So I'll place both of these in D tier right now for doesn't exist. I'm pretty happy with the placement of all of these. Until next time.